I'm back. We're going to do things a little different. So listen to the sound. Welcome back. Today is day 3 of the Elevate Derm conference. And I don't have a social media tip, but I want to give you a tech tip. So this is the regular sound with my laptop. And I'm going to turn on my headset, which is Bluetooth, and it's connected to my laptop. So I want you to just listen to the sound difference. Okay, what do you think? I can't wait to hear this back and see how it sounds. I love these. These are called shocks because they don't go in the ear. They fit comfortably behind the head. And the fact that it plugs into my laptop makes it really convenient to create content because then you don't need an extra mic. And then I don't know if you can hear me with my hair making noise. So I apologize, but I like to test things out in real time. So, like I said, this is day 3. I'm in Boston at the Elevate Derm conference. This is their inaugural East conference. I think they usually go on the West Coast, from what I understand, and they will be back there next year for Utah, but they're going to be in Tampa later this month. So they said today we're going to switch it up. So we're going to, I talked about this little tech tip. I'm going to talk about another feature, actually 2 features on OneNote, which I talked about yesterday, which is how I like to take notes, both when I'm learning and also I utilize them in practice. The entrepreneurial journey, which I was inspired by Halise. She's a content creator and filmmaker here on YouTube. Her and her husband, Chris, who's a nurse, they make content. I've been following them for over a decade. And yeah, I just appreciate their transparency when it comes to their relationship, their career. Making content. And he's actually a writer too. So definitely, and they have a podcast. So we have so many things in common. And she has locks. I'll do a little bit of wellness update. We'll talk about the virtual Preceptor shop, the importance of attending a conference, particularly if you are an entrepreneur, what the entrepreneurial journey looks like. Like I said, Halise and Chris, they did a recent video called Should I Give Up on My Dream? I put the link in the description box. Or should you give up on your dream? And so I wanted to kind of respond to that a little bit. We'll talk about review of the conference, the events for today. Tomorrow is the last day. Tell you about a scholarship opportunity. And I think that's it. So welcome. If you're new here, my name is Kimberly Madison. I'm a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner. And I use the internet to share my journey as a blueprint, as a living case study, because you only learn about patient care in nursing school. So everything else, when it comes to actually providing that care, managing your time, working in teams, documentation, life management, time management, professional development, financial security, financial literacy, your own mental health and wellness, continued academia, contracts, negotiations, malpractice, insurance, the cost of goods and services to you if you own your own business, as well as to your patient. You don't learn you don't learn enough, if any at all. And so it's so important that we share our stories, that we join community and networking. And so that's what I'm doing here, just to motivate you, hopefully provide some inspiration, but also that spirit of inquiry that we have in nursing. You hear something and you have questions about, what does that mean? How do I get started? What's the risk? What's the benefits? And so that's what I'm here for, kind of like your virtual mentor. So yeah, that's what I do. I usually come live on the weekend, but not so much lately. So usually I'll either come live on the weekend or on a Monday, because I'm in the social media space. And so one of my best advice is, if you want to keep showing up consistently, if you want to be part of the algorithm, if you want to have a dominant presence, you have to keep showing up, whether that's every day, once a week, once a month, whatever it is that you decide, you need to be consistent. And the easiest way to be consistent without getting burnt out and without losing the traction that you gain is to keep it simple. And so one of the best ways I keep it simple is going live. That eliminates editing. The most editing I do is the caption, which, believe it or not, does take a little bit of time. And then the thumbnail, which, if you see, I usually do the same one over and over, change a little bit here or there. I'll use that one for a few months and then I'll switch it up and use it again, use a different one. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. That's just what I do. So yeah, here we are. So normally I start off with wellness, but today I want to switch it up. since I've been coming on every day since Thursday to review the Elevate Derm conference. So in the morning, I go on my other social media platforms, all of them, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I go over the agenda for the day. So I already did that. My links are in the description box. If you're not already following me there or here or subscribing, I invite you to give a thumbs up, leave a comment. Don't be so shy. Yeah. So I go over the agenda in the morning, and then at night I come and do a recap. So we'll do this recap today, and then tomorrow I'm thinking I would love to do a recap in the hotel before I head to the airport. It just depends on if I can get space and privacy. If not, then I'll go to the airport and do it where it's a whole bunch of people. But I don't know the people and I don't care. So we might do that. So I already went over the details of the agenda. I'll highlight the food and some of my notes that I took and just kind of the things that happened today. But let's talk about OneNote. So I used OneNote yesterday. I talked about OneNote yesterday, which is how I like to keep track of notes. Right. And so I already told you the benefits of that. You can log in from any computer because it's Microsoft. I don't know if it's only part of the 365, but it is Microsoft. And this is free. It came with my laptop. I have a Mac. And then I use it at work too, for my company. Not this particular OneNote account. I use my work account. But I use the notebook in the same fashion that I talked about yesterday. So today I noticed two things. Well, yesterday I noticed two things. There's an audio feature. So if, like, say you're in lecture or at a conference, although I wouldn't use it at a conference without somebody's permission, or even lecture, to be honest. But just depending on the setting that you're in, even if you're just studying with your friends or studying yourself, you can record audio and play it back. But you can also dictate. You can talk out your notes and it'll type it up for you. So it's just great to know what tools are available and to take advantage of them. So that's a tip there. So I know I went on a whole spiel about electronic notes, and they are my favorite because you can put in search terms and it's easy to retrieve and you can move on. But when I'm studying and I need to retain information and break it up so it's not all like monotonous, I do go with handwritten. So I've enrolled in a course that I haven't told you about yet, but I think in August I will be reviewing that course on a weekly basis. And so I have my notes here. So I picked up a notebook today, and I'm old school. I like the mechanical. It's funny because when I was in grade school, actually I didn't use mechanical pencils. I think because I was heavy-handed, so they would always break. So I just used number twos. It wasn't until I was an adult that I even started using mechanical. But even in the hospital, I still used to use number twos because I could just always use the pencil sharpener, which was kind of a product that was being extinct. Or is that the word, extinct? Yeah. But yeah, so here we go. So I'll be keeping notes. I mentioned yesterday. So I used to do a lot of tutoring when I was in nursing school. And so we did a lot of training, which was really nice. And I took away a lot of things from that. But two things that stuck with me is if you repeat the same information within 24 hours, it will help your retention by 75%. So I used that information throughout nursing school to come up with my strategy. Number two, somewhere I heard that if you repeat something, once you've seen something 11 times, seen it, read it, whatever, you've encountered it 11 times, that also would help with retention. So I used to just have like blank paper and write things over and over and over, literally just for the exercise of it, and I would toss it out. So with this notebook, I don't know that I will use it to refer to, as opposed to my electronic one, but we'll see. We'll see. Because I do have a little bit of a photographic memory. So once I write it and I remember where it is on the paper, I can go back to it really fast. So we'll see. It's been a while since I used that method, so I don't know if age is caught up with me or not. Let's see. So as far as wellness goes today, I did get a lot of walking in, and I didn't do that good with water. I did pick up a water bottle because I lost the one that I brought with me. And hopefully I'll get all of this down tonight. It's 10 o'clock. I might be able to get another one down. I'm not sure. By the way, this is the earliest that I've come on all week, and I'm hoping by doing so, I'll also get the most sleep that I've gotten in a while. I just want to put in another plug for the JD NPPA journal. This is written for us, by us, with you in mind. Whether you're new to practice or you've been around a long time, this is for you. You can access it. Not everything's accessible to us, as Douglas pointed out today. So let's jump into the conference. So one of the things that was part of today's agenda was posters, which I absolutely love. If you don't know, my whole space, like where I prefer to be, is medical education, publications, entrepreneurship. Part of entrepreneurship is marketing, and that's why I talk about social media so much, because you need marketing. You can have a great idea, you can pay someone thousands of dollars, and maybe you should do all those things, right? But you still need to have an understanding and appreciation of marketing, even if you're not the one running your marketing, just understanding its value. And marketing can be word of mouth. A lot of people will say, oh, it's word of mouth. And they'll say, I don't do any social media. I live off of word of mouth. Social media is word of mouth. Like, it's just the newer version of it. And the people that you're talking to, that you're saying are going word of mouth, they're using social media. So I'm just saying. Someone I interviewed actually said that they don't use social media, but literally the reason I found out they exist was because of social media. So I just want people to appreciate its value and And then we'll jump right. And actually, I'm going to jump into this entrepreneurship real quick before I forget. But I'm going to point out at least one article in here that might catch your attention. Oh, itching for a diagnosis, how to identify and treat pruritus on non-inflamed skin. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, Abby. Oh, nice. Oh, wow. She partnered with Dr. Babanich and Dr. Wow. Wow. What's really cool is how many of these people I know. They say Derm is a small world, and they're not lying. Oh, look at her. Oh, yeah, she did tell me she was in Texas. Oh, rheumatology. You're going to hear a lot more about rheumatology and immunology and integrative. I think those are the future of Derm. More of that. Oh. I didn't even know that. Fresh from the podium, dermatology meeting coverage, pearls and insights from the Diversity in Dermatology 2024 conference and the 2024 annual meeting of the American Society for Laser Medicine and Surgery, the American Academy of Dermatology 2024 meeting, and more. Let's jump to that. I wasn't even planning to talk about this today. And then we'll talk about entrepreneurship real quick for the people who only come for that. Oh, Dr. Matt Zyrus. That's the third author. He's if you really want to learn about atopic dermatitis, he's the guy you want to follow. He did a really amazing interview on terms and conditions. He broke it down so good. I've listened to that same one so many times. Which you don't need to do if you take notes by hand. Maybe you'll get it the first time. See, I could sit here and read this whole thing. I thought it was going to have a little thing. That's why I'm even looking. It's funny because it says right there, oh, let me point out another thing for you too. Oh, okay. They're just doing snippets of what they talked about at the conference. So Dr. Matt Zyrus talked about 3 supplements that may treat atopic derm. So probiotics, oral ceramide supplements, and omega-3. And then Dr. Jennifer Sung talked about pearls for diagnosing lupus and dermatomyositis. And she talks about labs, causes, pregnancy, and the 5 hallmark signs, which are very good. And then treating psoriasis in special locations across the spectrum of skin tones. Oh, okay, so just like a little snippet, and then it has diversity in dermatology right there. That's cool. I wasn't expecting that. So there just happens to also be an ad for DEF, the Dermatology Education Foundation. I know some people out there right now. They just posted a link, like a special, so you can register for next year. So right now, if you register right now, it's $25. I'm gonna post it in the DMB Dermatology MPPA group Facebook page. One of our members posted it, so I'm gonna thank her and share it with the group. So entrepreneurship. So like I said, Halise and Chris today, or actually I don't know when they posted the video. It wasn't too long ago, on entrepreneurship kind of and being a creative. So people write in questions or their concerns and get their advice. And so in this particular case, like I said, Halise is a content creator. Chris is a nurse, a master prepared nurse. And over the last few years, he's expressed his burnout with nursing and his desire to pursue his creative passion. And then Halise supported him because she has a thriving business. And so they talk about both the opportunities as well as the challenges that come along with that. And so what I thought was really interesting was, one, your partner is not your fan, right? And they can support you. They can buy you equipment. They can drive you to meetings that you need to be. They can do all those things, right? But at the end of the day, they're your partner, and their hands are full meeting all those needs. And while you may desire and expect them to support you as an entrepreneur in all the ways, they're already kind of busy. And so she was pointing out that he wants to write. So he would write different little mini stories and want her to read every single one. And I guess one day she was just like, I don't expect you to watch every single YouTube video. I don't mind reading them, but I guess it was just kind of like, I don't know, like, it's not that you don't need me to sign off on every project that you do, but yeah, I guess that's kind of the point, right? I think that's a big lesson to learn. Someone even said, like, if you start a business, there's 3 things, but you can't have all of them: friends, family, or your business. If you have your business, you can have your family, but you can't have your friends. If you have your friends and your family, you can't have a business. And man, those words are so true. I don't have a definitive answer on that. That's something I'm still in the middle of kind of experiencing. But I will say that's a real challenge. It's a real challenge to have all 3 of those. But yeah, and I think even when she said that part, it's like, yeah, of course you want them to be your cheerleader. But on the other hand, I can get all these other people out here to be my cheerleader, but only one person can really be my partner. And so I want my partner to be my partner. And yeah, so that was good. And then this whole creative thing, right? Being a creative. Oh man, it's not as linear as you think it's going to be. And sometimes, yeah, you can start today and it can just take off, right? But other times you might be still doing your main gig while you're picking up this new one and learning as you go. And I think it's important that you just go and figure it out as you go. You don't need to figure it all out before you get started. Every day, just ask one question, right? Like we do in research. What's one question? How do I get started? Oh, you get started by turning on your phone, wherever my phone is. Okay, so I did step 1, day 1. I turned on my phone. How do I record? And then you learn how to record. How do I edit? Next day, how do I upload? Okay, now I've uploaded. What do I write in the caption? How do I get help writing a better caption so it's search engine optimized? What platform should I use? Each of these questions are another day. And from where you started on Sunday to where you end on Saturday is going to be drastically different than if you keep waiting, right? So that's part 1 of the entrepreneur part, is just get started. And you should write things down. And like I said yesterday, the more you start saying it, you're going to hear back to yourself who you are, who you want to be. So when opportunities come, you'll either say, yes, this aligns with what I've been saying about myself, or no, this does not align with what I've been saying about myself. And so he was even talking about, because he's had to kind of go back to nursing a couple times, I want to say, since he kind of took a break and has had to go back, mostly for financial reasons. They were saying, like, it's really just it's not going back isn't the destination. Going back is just supporting you as you continue your dream. And you want to get a job that supports you so you can continue to write. So, like, yeah, he took off for a year. He was writing that whole time, and he's had to go back to work. It doesn't mean he has to stop writing. He just has to find a job that still allows him to continue to write, or he has to create a routine that allows him to continue to write. And that's something I completely relate to. And I share that with you because, especially if you're on here watching people who are entrepreneurs and you're like, oh, it's just going to be just like linear. I'm going to start and then I'm going to be here in like 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And one thing I hope through all our journeys, you can see the evolution of time. So, and that's why YouTube is so beautiful, because you do see people start from scratch and really grow. And if you come on day one and you see them at 1 million followers, you think, oh, it was so easy, right? Or, oh, it happened so quickly for them. But if you've taken the journey with them, you can see how long it took. But along the way, so much is happening. So much is happening. And I can't point out enough how so numbers matter, but not to the degree that you think. You don't need 10,000. You don't need 1 million to start garnishing attention. And like I told you yesterday, you have to take control of your online presence. If you don't, someone else will. It'll be your company, your school, whatever it is that you've done in life that's attached to your name and a link. When I Google your name and you come up, am I going to see something you did in high school, or am I going to see something you're doing right now? And does that align with who you're selling yourself as? So that's something you can do today. That's something you can start today. And don't let other people's journey, don't compare yourself to what other people are doing, because everyone has so many different things that they're managing and so many things that they're competing with. So particularly if someone could have 5 children and still be able to do all these things, right? But maybe they're not sleeping, maybe they're not working out, maybe they haven't been to the doctor in a long time, maybe their relationship is falling apart, maybe everything's going well. And they're just one of the people who maybe they're going to burn out in 6 months or 5 years. You never know. And then maybe, like for me, I can do all these things because I don't have children, right? And so don't say, well, I can't because of this. You just figure out what you can do and do that, and do it until you're able to do something else or do more and add on. But also remember that you don't have to do it alone. Like, get help. And so this is another point they brought up. When it comes to being a creative, you will do some things for free. But I love it because Halise pointed out that by doing those things for free, if you gain other things, you gain access to people or opportunities that will pay. You gain these skills that then you can sell and, sell yourself, market yourself. So think about that too. And honestly, when you're first starting out, you might say, oh yes, I need to make top dollar, right? Because you hear everyone out here telling you that you need to ask for your worth. There's a lot of truth in that. But at the same time, when you're really starting to ask for the big money, you have to deliver. And if you've never delivered before, you're not going to really be worth that money. So starting off slow, starting off doing some free opportunities, increasing your network and your net worth will allow you to then make those claims and ask for the higher prices. So let's see, let's move along. So let's talk about the conference. So yesterday I mentioned that website PCE, which is Practicing Clinicians Exchange. So you can go over there, you can get continuing education credits. So let's talk about it. I'm at the conference. I haven't even told you why you should attend a conference. So when you're in school, you're getting credits, and that allows you to be eligible to get your licensure and any certifications that you need. But after you've been practicing for 2 years, those no longer are valid. So, we're in the business of medicine. Medicine is a science that is constantly changing. So, what you learned last year, 2 years, 10 years ago is no longer relevant. So, to maintain your certification and licensure, you have to maintain education, otherwise known as continuing education or CEs, or continuing medical education or CMEs, which is typically what doctors, and I think PAs also do the CMEs, and then nurses do CEs. So when you go to a webinar or a conference and they say they're accredited, they're offering you CEs, you'll go and look and see if one of your certifying bodies is one of the ones that's accredited those credits. And so typically you'll see like the ANCC or AMA for doctors. So for nurses, we might usually have the ANCC or the AAMP, American Association of Nurse Practitioners, Association or Academy. I can never remember. So even as an NP, we really don't get like NP CEs. We get typically it's still the registered nurse CE, because in order to be an NP, you have to maintain your RN. And so hopefully that's not confusing. It really comes down to when it's time to renew your licensure and even your certification, which I did all of those this year. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say, and it's all state dependent, but let's say I needed 22 for my RN, 22 for my NP. And then the difference usually is like the state has certain requirements. Like I have a DC license, so we have to do chronic pain or opioid management, LGBTQ plus, I think HIV is one of them. And then for the MP, really the difference is the pharm credits, pharmacology. Those are so much harder to come by, but very important. And I don't remember how many those were. For something, I needed 75 CEs in general, but I submitted 100 this year. And so when I come to conference, you get a whole bunch, which is nice. I think I was just looking at something. Oh, I know. I think we're getting 25, up to 25 you can get for this conference. Yep, see, maximum CE, CME credits eligible is 25 hours. So every time we go into a room, we scan our badge. That's one way we keep track of it. And then they have this tracker here too. Okay. And so that's one reason you attend conference. So you spend 4 days, you get a whole bunch of CEs. And then you can go online, like that PCE website that I have in the description box. And that's not just for derm. You can put in other specialties too. And you'll see, at least I've seen, you can get some that are 0.5 or 1 credit. So, that might be a 30-minute webinar. And you'll have to do answer some questions before the webinar itself. You watch the webinar, and then you take the post-test, and then you'll get your CE, which usually is in the form of a certification. You'll have a folder on your computer, you save it. So when you apply for a job, when you apply for your licensure certification, you can upload those. Typically, I take all of those, create one PDF, and I attach it. It's a really great thing to do if you're coming into derm without any experience, but you've done all these CEs. You can, and usually when you submit a resume or CV, they allow you to add additional documents. That's a perfect time to add these other CEs to show your commitment, knowledge, and investment. It's really helpful. And it puts derm on your resume a lot. So, if you're good and you do your CEs, a little bit here, a little bit there, by the time it's time to renew, you won't be in a rush. But I think a lot of people wait to the last minute. So doing conference, it allows you to knock them out, get to network, get to learn things, learn about new products, learn about job opportunities, interact with reps. So you get more out of it than just CEs, but that's one of the benefits. If you are in entrepreneurship and you're working alone, this is an opportunity to be with like-minded individuals, whether you're new or you've been around. Especially if you're in business for yourself, you only know what you know. So when you come to events like this, you get to expand your access to information. So I couldn't recommend it enough. The other benefit is that typically most jobs will reimburse you. So you have to find out, first of all, how much they're gonna, what your annual reimbursement is. and then plan accordingly with your vacation, with your PTO, because you do use your own PTO. Well, I guess everyone could be different, but I think everyone has to use their PTO to go to conference, and so then you can submit for that and get the money back for that, if it aligns with your specialty, or because if you work for the hospital, you might not have a specialty per se, but if it like if it's in nursing, I don't know, they have some stipulation, but I think there's a little bit more leeway there. And then if you work in a full practice authority state, and say you did like, FNP or adult gero, but you work in a specialty, it's really good to continue to do CEs in that area. But I think most of us also do additional ones to maintain that knowledge base. So for our PA friends, every 10 years, they have to take another board examination. So they kind of have to stay abreast all the time. They've recently made some changes. So it's not just one sitting, like it's broken up throughout the year, which is probably, I think maybe they like it. I don't know. So for them, maintaining all those skills is kind of a necessity, but certainly for our physician colleagues and for NPs who specialize, if you decide, you just want to specialize and that's it, then you wouldn't really be required to do those other things. But I know for me, I like to do diabetes and cardiac stuff, mostly because that's what I did prior. And so I want to keep those skills that I've acquired, but I also feel that they're very central to a lot of other conditions. And now I'm really interested in adding on some more immunology room eventually, but I'll probably start with, and they kind of cross a lot. But yeah, I'm starting to become a little bit more interested in immunology too. So that's why you should attend conference. And in addition to getting so if you work for someone, you can get your reimbursement, but if you work for yourself, you can submit all your expenses as a business expense. So just make sure you keep track of all that. So those are the benefits of conference. So I told you about PCE. So yeah, I've met a bunch of people. As I've mentioned before here, I interviewed the director of the Lahey Dermatology Nurse Practitioner Training Program, Victoria. I had the lovely pleasure of meeting her this weekend. She is wonderful. And that's been so exciting. I met a lot of really nice people, not just, and I think, and I don't know how that happens, but I don't just meet people who are only seeing patients. They usually are doing other things, which piques my interest, right? Because I like to know all these other opportunities. And so that's been fabulous. I've learned so much and really been inspired a lot too, which is wonderful. So yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. So about tracking the CEs. So the exhibitors, they left yesterday, so I didn't get to go back and get any more skincare products. So yeah, I should, and it's embarrassing because I've been looking at the agenda every day, but I never read. I just read the lectures. I don't, when I do my little thing in the morning, I wasn't paying attention to the exhibitors and like the non-CME stuff. So I missed out on that. So I didn't get any more other than what I showed you the first night. We did have a giveaway today. So we had the little bingo. So that was one way you can get into the raffle. And then there was a quiz you had to answer complete before the conference started. That would have put you in for the drawing, which I didn't do. I didn't finish my bingo card and I didn't do the survey in time. So I was not a candidate for the raffle. But they gave away 2 dermatoscopes. I want to say they were by Derm, so pretty good. I wouldn't have minded having that myself. Food was really good again. Breakfast I think has been the same, like continental. So I went back to Life Lab to get a salad and a smoothie. And then for lunch, we had like a taco bar kind of thing, which was great. I love tacos. And then I skipped on dinner. I went out and enjoyed the city. So I don't know what they did for dinner. And I had a really good cookie too. So I told you about Life Alive. And right there along that same block, I think that's Boylston, is Beatnik. They had a delicious chocolate chip and gluten-free cookie. I'm not gluten-free, but that just happens to be what it was. It was so good. It was soft in the inside and crispy on the outside. So yeah, if you've never been to Boston, Boston's a great city. Boston proper, which is fairly small. I used to walk from Medford down here. intentionally for like exercise. But it is a walkable city. It has great public transportation. Even when it would be horrible snow, everything still runs. And really, they say you can find it's easier to find someone with a PhD here than someone who goes to church. It's very liberal, but also very segregated. Um, so it's an old city, especially if you're from like Northern Virginia or cities that are still building and doing a lot of reconstruction. That's not the case here. Like it's a pretty old city, so there's not a lot of land left to build up new things. And I feel like they spend more time kind of just preserving what they already have. Yeah, and so things tend to be on the smaller side, but also that cost of living is pretty high. But yeah, I love Boston. My parents met here, so I grew up romanticizing it, and then I ended up coming here for a graduate certificate program at Tufts in biomedical engineering. I met a good friend here who I stayed in touch with over the years. She introduced me to someone who I fell in love with, and so that just further made me fall more and more in love with Boston. So I love coming here. The weather is absolutely perfect when you catch it in the summer for a very small window. The summer is beautiful. Even the snow was actually gorgeous, and I didn't really drive in the snow a lot, so I didn't have to deal with that too often. So if you don't have to do this, if you don't have to drive or shovel, then you can probably get away with the snow and it won't be a big hindrance. I think it's just a problem when you have to actually get out there. But it was cold. Like I can remember feeling cold in my bones. But really great food. You can go out on the water. Great access. I know some people will come here from other parts of the world and take advantage of being here in the Northeast. So they might go down to New York, which is like 4 hours. I used to hop on the bus for $20. Like you could just say we want to go right now and go hop on a bus. I don't know if it's still $20. They'll go to Maine. Maine is super easy to get to. Vermont, and then some people will take advantage and go to Canada. Of course, you have Harvard here. You have really great schools in addition to Harvard. And to me, it's just like the best place to get education. And so I love Boston. If you've never been, highly recommend it. You can come and the first time I went skiing was here. So all year long, you can find something good to do. But I think I would recommend this summer. And make sure you get out on the water. And you have to go to Little Italy and you have to go to Mike's Pastry and eat a cannoli. He doesn't have any vegan cannolis, I don't think. So I haven't had any in a long time, like more than 7 years. But before that, I definitely had my share. So yeah, that's Boston. And of course, the marathon is here. The closest I ever will get to running that marathon, I used to volunteer in the medical tent. And actually when I was going to school here at Tufts and working at Children's Hospital, that's when I decided to pursue nursing. So yeah, Boston has a very, very special place in my heart. So yeah, lots of great things here in Boston. So you've got the clam chowder and lobster roll. But that gets a lot of hype. But really, they have a lot of really great food. They have really good pizza. Little Italy is probably my favorite neighborhood. Some of the best pasta I've ever had was over there. And yeah, my friends got married on the water. Like, it's just a great city. I love it. New Hampshire's not far. A lot of people live out there and maybe commute. So yeah, a lot of people commute from Rhode Island, New Hampshire, if they're close enough. And then you can go to the other side of Massachusetts and you can go to like the Berkshires. A lot of people talk about that, which I never made it to. You have the Cape. Like, it's just a really great city. Okay, so let's talk about the conference. So Douglas talked about the importance of posters. It was who cares about posters your patients do. So a few things I want to highlight. You can get paid. So when you submit your poster, if you've never done a poster, I can't remember if you have to do a poster in NP school or not. But you definitely do it at the DMP level. And so it was nice because you showed the electronic version. I think we've all seen the hard copy version that you might hang in your hallway at your hospital or in your university. But also when I graduated, we had the electronic one also. And so we would go online And when you go in the exhibit hall, you could see, you can go through it, and then you can get access to additional documents that might be attached. That's kind of like the new thing that I really love. And it gives you a chance to look at them all and vote on them. And actually, when I was doing my DMP project, I submitted mine because it was like some kind of competition. I ended up being third. But I think it's just because a lot of people don't apply, they don't apply for stuff like that. And I don't know what it is about nursing, but nursing students they just can't find time or don't make time, or it's not emphasized in our culture. Because when you look at our, especially our physician colleagues and even our PA friends, the amount of like volunteering that they do. And today I learned that med students, I want to say med students or residents, I don't remember, have to submit or participate in 20 different articles. I think it's med students have to submit 20 articles, but for residency. And I know they volunteer on organizations. I see them, and they take on roles and positions. And so I can't even get nurses to join professional organizations. I know why it's important, and we really can't get students to write. That's a hard one. So I would love to see that culture change, but it would have to almost be mandatory in order for that to happen. And I don't know that would happen anytime soon. I feel like nursing finds that would be a barrier. I feel like nursing tries to eliminate as many barriers to practice as possible. And I think a lot of people would see that as a barrier if people have to write. But when it comes to writing, as well as entrepreneurship, I think that's partly because they think they have to do it on their own. This whole idea of doing everything on their own. Whereas in medicine, they get mentorship, and plays a huge role. Like, it's part of the culture. So I think if we started to see that in nursing, we might see the value of our voice, the importance of our voice, the importance of disseminating our knowledge and experience in publications. That's how we move the needle forward. So he talked about the importance of them. He talked about the things that stood out to him as like being kind of innovative and approaching a topic in a different way, or a medication in a different way. And even the format of the poster itself, what stood out to him, what features he liked. So I really was taking notes for that. And then you can partner with people to write papers. And so don't think you have to do it all by yourself. And even if you're like a principal investigator, or depending on different role you have, your name can still be attached to the research, even if you're not like someone who did a lot of the writing, or any writing at all. You can add it to your CV. So on your CV, at one portion, you can have this poster was submitted at this conference, right? Elevate Derm 2024. If that poster then gets accepted as an abstract in a peer-reviewed journal, it automatically becomes a publication. So then you can put that under your publications. So there's that. And then he mentioned, which I think is wonderful, when you're thinking about presenting your topic, so whether you do a full-blown research, some kind of like scoping review, or even a case study, don't just limit yourself to derm. Think about wounds, dentistry, and vet conferences. So those were some really good tips. And then he mentioned a great website, which I forgot all about, which is clinicaltrials.org. That's a great place for you to check out which clinical trials are taking place. And yeah, I gave you a database yesterday that I thought was really helpful. On Thursday when Dr. Taylor's brought it up, all for us or something. I put it in the description box for day one of the conference. So if you didn't see that, go back and check it out. So for the conference, I think I've already talked long enough. So maybe tomorrow's a really short day. So tomorrow I might just focus on the agenda. Review. We did a lot more talking about hair. That was really good. Yeah, so let's do that. Tomorrow I'll go over my actual notes, and then we'll just wrap up today because we're 43 minutes in already. So I want to tell you about, do I want to talk about? Yeah, let me review these topics, and then tomorrow I'll go over my notes. So we did a lot. Today was really good, by the way. Some things I haven't really been exposed to, because I hear a lot about atopic derm, psoriasis, alopecia areata. I think those are in. I think those get the most attention, and so it was nice to hear some new things. Went over hair again, but not just CCCA. We also talked about frontal fibrosing alopecia, uh, lichen planopilaris. I feel like we did three. Oh, I think he did area. He did alopecia areata too. Lots of great algorithms, which is another thing I love about conference. You get to see these algorithms. You get to hear. You get to talk to them. You get to ask them direct questions about the cases that we did. A lot of case studies. Love case studies because it's like real. And then you get to ask them questions directly about that case study or your own patients and get their, because on stage they might not want to talk about like particular brands, but in person they're going to tell you what they do, how long they do it, the dosing, all those things. And they usually provide their contact information. Now, do they want you to flood their email? No, but you do have it and you should use it wisely. We did the quiz bowl again. That was really fun. I like the having to evaluate my understanding. And so the girl who won for yesterday and today, the same girl, she got the most points. I haven't met her yet, but I feel like I need to. Ooh, we talked about the itchy patient. You know what? So two things I really loved. I loved I loved a lot. I loved all of it. But two things I want to point out was what is it? Hansen's disease. Why can't I say? Oh, Hansen's disease. So leprosy, which we hear about and certainly hear about it in church a lot. And so because the term leprosy has such a negative connotation, people have pushed for it to be called Hansen's disease. And it was so sweet because Dr. Adam Lipworth, he gave that presentation, but he started off by by honoring the man who taught him what he knows, which was Victoria, the director of Lahey. It was her grandfather. It was so sweet. And that's what I'm talking about, that mentorship in medicine that we do see it in nursing amongst, here and there, but it's not part of our culture. That's what I'm saying. It's not part of our culture. And so someone will have a mentor and that mentor might be their mentor for their entire career, even though that mentor no longer practices. But funny enough, Victoria's grandfather lived to 101, and right before that, he was still attending conference. So he was just really played a huge role when it came to the treatment and understanding and advancement of leprosy. And a good question someone brought up was protection, right? Because there's this fear of being contagious. And so what he said was 95% of the population has a natural immunity. We don't know why. And so the small percentage of people who aren't immune, typically they're getting it by being in really close contact. And so that's why we do see it so often. When you do see it, you should really inquire about the family. And so he gave a really great example. They had brought a little kid in, and he just happened to look at the grandmother and saw some lesions on her leg. And then he asked about the mom, and it just so happened she was in the hospital at that time, and she also had some lesions. So that was fun to hear about. It was great to go over all the biologic small molecule drug challenges, how to overcome those. And then, infectious disease. Oh my God, that was so good. And we had an allergist here today too. And he talked about chronic itch. We talked about chronic urticaria and itching. And my dad has had this itching for like 2 or 3 years now. And it never dawned on me to send him to an allergist. I told him to go see Derm, but man, I want him to go see an allergist. And I really loved his approach to the itch, because a lot of times we talk about psychodermatoses, and the way he approached it was just like, if someone actually has an itch, he's like, I don't think it's in their head. Now, if someone says they have an itch, but they're not scratching, okay, that's a different story. But if someone says they itch, believe them. That sounds just like pain, right? And so I love when people humanize a disorder and make you like rethink your approach, especially when it brings out more empathy for that person. And so, yeah, I'm going to send my dad to an allergist and see if we can find some resolution. Plus, he provided some treatment options, some over-the-counter treatment options to start. And so I'll talk to my dad about that and see how he feels. And then we talked about, I don't want to get the name wrong. This one is so good. I'm going to write an article. So I'm going to write quite a few articles about some of this. There it is. Retiform purpura. Man, he's like, nobody learns it. Not even in med school, they're not learning it. And it's an indication of necrosis. And so he went into it was just really great. Those are my highlights for the day in terms of the topics. And you can tell he was really passionate about it. Everyone's really passionate about it. So yeah, I'm going to write up something about that on the blog, the Mahogany Dermatology blog. The link's in the bio. So we can all learn more about that. And speaking of learning, today was another great day of being so grateful that things have taken as long as they have. So it's like the one thing I started off this journey wanting to do. So many things have happened along the way. And because of that, it's taken longer to get to this thing. But it's not that I've been so fortunate, because all these other opportunities are popping up, right, and expanding my mind as to what I can do. And today was another day where it's like the vision just got refined some more. And that whole thing I'm telling you about, you saying what you want out loud and then realizing like that's what you want, that's what you create, right? And so yeah, that whole vision just came in the last 2 days. I would say I've been able to really narrow down in terms of verbalizing what it is I want to create, what I'm creating, and what that's going to look like. And I'm so excited about that, especially when you think about building new things and where you fit in the ecosystem, right? Because you can, like, say, for instance, right, a lot of people come to Derm because of aesthetics, like social media. And you can say, I'm going to do the exact same thing they're doing. But if you stand back and observe everyone, you'll notice there's some gaps in knowledge and practice and outcomes. Fill those gaps. You don't need to reproduce the same thing and then be worried about your competition. You fill the gap and you no longer have competition. So that's my story for today. So let's see. I wanted to, did I tell you about I don't think I told you about the scholarship. So yeah, make sure you go in the description box. The Dermatology Nurses Association has 3 scholarships, one for the general convention at the conference next year, one for those of you still in nursing school or NP school. You have to have, like, I think a couple years left. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. And then that one's called the Career Mobility. And then the third one is for those pursuing their certification. While certification is not required to practice Derm, certification period in general is highly recommended because it's a demonstration of high, kind of the gold standard of care, right? We always want to be working to the highest degree possible. It builds confidence in ourselves, in our practice, amongst our colleagues, and amongst the public. And so in order to be a candidate for any of those scholarships, though, you have to be a member for 2 consecutive years at the time of application. So if you are a member, you can apply today. Like most scholarships, people don't take advantage of them, so your chances of winning are probably better than you think. I think they're about like $1,000 to $2,000. And then if you're not a member, certainly sign up today, because the 2 years are going to go by so fast, and these opportunities will still be present then. When you do sign up, there's a place to say who referred you. Please say I referred you, if you don't mind. They have like a little competition going on, and so I want to be a candidate for that. I think that's all I have. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me just double check that I talked about all the things I said I was going to talk about with you. Oh, did I tell you about I've mentioned it a couple times. I just want to make sure I keep mentioning it, that the DMD Dermatology MPPA group is a networking group for NPs and PAs in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, practicing or aspiring to practice in medical, cosmetic, and surgical dermatology. We had our first meet and greet last month, sponsored by Arcutis, and our next one will be Thursday, September 26th at 7 p.m. in the DMV. That's that section of our group. We're moving into Blacksburg and Richmond, and so excited to see the group grow. So hopefully you're in one, and I think that kind of covers us with those two, the North, the Southwest, and then kind of like Central Virginia. I think that's awesome. And so I'm going to be meeting with my partners in those parts of the state so we can kind of get to know each other and, kind of create a vision together on what we want that to look like. And then I've already been setting up the speakers. So that's great. So we'll just be picking up some dates and finding venues. That'll be the next steps. And then, get the ball rolling so you all can RSVP. And then if you don't meet the criteria to join the group, the Facebook group where we, communicate and plan events, just message me directly if you're interested in joining, because you do have to have a medical license number, and that'll get verified. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and then we're going to do a Friendsgiving. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.